Welcome to Business Week Online's Video Views. I'm Diane Brady, Senior Writer at Business Week, and with me is Dan Hill, President of Sensory Logic and author of Emotionomics. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you very much.
What's Emotionomics? Let's start with that.
It is essentially the science of emotions. A lot of people these days are talking about engagement and trying to get people on board. This is saying let's really model emotions and let's measure emotions and strategically use it as an advantage in the marketplace.
Now, my favorite part of the book, you talk about facial coding.
Yes.
I'm always curious about this. Can people not disguise how they're feeling?
They have a tough time. Around the mouth, yes, we have some ability to manipulate the muscles, but less than we probably think. Around the eyes, almost nothing. About 10% of the populace can manipulate some of their eye muscle movements.
Really? And so is the idea that you can then read emotions and check the dissonance between what people are saying and what they're doing?
Yeah, there's a wonderful comment from Groucho Marx who says to Margaret Dumont, who are you going to believe, me or your own eyes? I think all of us innately know that action does speak louder than words. The face is the only place in the body where the muscles attach right to the skin. It's very quick. It's very spontaneous. I have looked at poker players. I have looked at presidential candidates, CEOs,
You've looked at
employees.
Paris Hilton, too.
I've looked at Paris Hilton. We give away little subtle things without realizing it.
There's a lot of attention to emotions right now, emotional intelligence. Tell me kind of what's changed in terms of the business world. Is there just a greater appreciation of emotions? Advertising, for example, they've always tried to appeal to our base emotions, no?
Well, the marketplace is getting more and more cluttered. There's lots of commoditization. If you have an innovation, it's Me Too'd seemingly almost overnight. In the end, the customer's king. That's becoming even more true. It really should be the customer's queen because, in fact, women shop more than guys. And you need to make that emotional connection. Women value that. Loyalty. Everyone's worried about loyalty these days. Well, loyalty is an emotion. Trust is an emotion. If you really want to make headway, you can't just do the rational part. That's almost like fighting with one arm behind your back. You need the rational and the emotional. But of the two, you really need the emotional more.
How do you do it? Because everybody wants to get that emotional connection. Where do most people fall short?
Well, I think one of them is they have a factory mentality. They're starting to think about their attributes and their benefits, and they really want to think the offer is king and hero because they're used to working with it every day. Mm-hmm. The customer's more distant. They're out there somewhere. So you start loading it up with all what I call messagitis, all these attributes and features and benefits. Are they relevant for the consumer? Are they going to be able to get it quickly? Are they going to be able to really get a gut feeling as to whether it's true or not? Maybe not. So I think the simpler connection is like a joke that you simply get that does not have to be explained to you. Too much advertising has to be explained to you.
Do you like focus groups? Are you a big fan of those?
No, I'm not a big fan of focus groups. I think you don't go shopping with 12 strangers. It is inherently an unnatural act. You're falling back on verbal reactions. You're also being able to let the loudmouth go first. The other people sit back. When they give an answer, is it really their answer or is it filtered through the group dynamics? When you show reaction on your face emotionally, typically it's less than a second. So it's very quick, very spontaneous, very brief. Those are the things I think a focus group probably ends up missing.
Oh, you just missed my fleeting joy.
Yes.
Talk about leadership, because we're seeing this big impulse in corporate America to be likable, to be a team player, the death of the autocratic CEO.
Sure.
What's behind that, and do you have any advice for people wanting to work their way up the ladder?
Well, I do, in fact. We had done a project for an investment firm in Chicago looking at leadership. They came to us and they said, if we can figure out the emotional caliber of the person, we know it's going to affect stock performance because their personality will filter down through the corporate culture. I would say the bottom line is the worst combination, unfortunately, the most toxic combination is fear and contempt. It means you're dismissing people, you're finding they're below you. You're also afraid to take in new information. We all know the marketplace changes quickly. If you can't access new information, you've basically isolated yourself. That is the most dangerous combination of emotions for an executive to have.
Do you have any advice for people sort of take away from the book? Not so they don't buy it, but so that they want to buy it. But, what can people do in their own lives to get started on this and become more attuned to it?
Well, one thing is we're all facial coders, quite naturally. And I think we have a tendency to try to say, well, let's go with the words. Let's listen to what they said. That's volume, but that's not necessarily quality. The essence of the exchange, and maybe a negotiation the CEO is having, maybe sitting with your boss, the annual employee evaluation, all those things, there may be a little moment, a little glimmer of something on the face that tells you they didn't buy in, they were resistant, they were scared, and they shut off. Miss those signals, you miss most of what is really happening for the person. We make our decisions emotionally. We justify them rationally. Don't get fooled by the rational alibi. Stick to the emotional essence of the relationship.
Great. Well, we've been speaking with Dan Hill of Sensory Logic. The book is Emotionomics. I'm Diane Brady of Business Week, and you've been watching Video Views. Thank you.